Hey guys, this is Kenesha with Very Thoughtful Life Coach. As a relationship life coach, it would make sense that I talk a lot about relationships, but however, I find myself talking a lot about self development. And the reason I know that I do that, and the reason it's necessary is because you cannot have a great relationship with others without having a great relationship with self. But today, I'm going to talk about father and daughter relationships. Dun dun dun. And I say that because that has been a place in my life that had that needed a lot of healing. Now, I don't want anyone to watch this and think like I had a bad dad. I think I had a great dad. But as a little girl, and even as an adult woman, finding my little girl still living inside of myself, there were just things that I needed from my dad that I wasn't getting. Uh, but here's the thing about that is, as a young child, I didn't know how to communicate it. Also, I had created these beliefs and rules about what a dad is and what he should be that kept me stuck in personal pain. But like one of my great aha moments as I became an adult in my 20s that I had while I was calling myself liking this guy. And I'll be honest with you guys, this particular guy was the first guy that I dated that seemed like a man. What do I mean by that? So I was in my 20s or maybe early 20s, maybe 18, 19. Well, I must have been like 19, 20 years old. And I had dated guys that were my age, but seemingly in my mind or my experience of them was that they weren't more mature than me. And oftentimes I felt more mature than them. Um, but this particular gentleman came into my world and he seemed together. He seemed like he knew what he wanted from life. Um, he was about getting it. He was about his business. I had never met a guy who was that focused and so about his business. But what I learned in that time was I didn't know how to talk to him. I didn't know how to be myself around him. My friends was with me one time around him, and they were like, "Who the hell is this? Like, why are you all quiet? Why are you all shy?" And I kept thinking like, "Wow, I am different around this guy." And so I started doing some self-reflection and trying to figure out what is it about him. And what I realized that was different about him was, to me, he was a man, where the other guys I dated were like boys. And I don't mean any disrespect to them, but that's just kind of where it was. And I had not, I did not know how to be myself with a man, with a strong man, because my dad was a strong man and I didn't know how to be around my dad. When I was little, and even up until in that age period, in my 20s, I was who my daddy wanted me to be. I said what I thought he wanted to hear. I agreed with things he said, not necessarily because I agree with them, but to gain his approval. So that's where I was. And so here I was now trying to have somewhat of a relationship with this guy, uncomfortable around him, didn't know what to say. I felt crazy. I really felt crazy. And I started realizing, like, oh my God, I can't talk to this guy because I perceive him as a man because I don't know how to talk to my daddy. Like, I don't know how to be open and honest with my dad. I don't know how to disagree with him. I didn't know how to disagree with him. And when I disagreed with him, it felt like to me that he would cut me off. Say something I don't like, I see you in a few weeks. Like, oh, he wouldn't answer my calls. You know what I mean? Like, so now I'm an adult and I have children now, and my dad did the best he knew to do. And like, my dad is a super cool guy and we still get along. And in fact, the reason I'm doing this video today is because I had this amazing conversation with my dad. And one of the thing I want you guys to get from this, especially the ladies that are listening, and if there are some guys that are listening and you have daughters, oh my God, like, be there for them. But listen to them and know that girls think different than boys, and we don't see the world the same way. But like our dads to us, for me when I was a kid, until that time, for me it was God and my daddy. Everybody could have said the sky was blue, but if my dad told me that sky was purple, I'm like, man, the sky must be purple. So I want, if you're a man, you're watching this, or I want you to get, that's how important you are to your daughter. And if you're a woman and you're watching this, and I know we all hear it all the time, people always talking about your relationship and your attraction, how it relates to your relationship with your dad. Guys, if you think that is not true, then you're fooling yourself. So if you have daddy issues, if you was abandoned by your father, you don't know your father, you don't have a good relationship with this man, you can't depend on him, you don't know how to trust him, you can't communicate with him effectively, that is showing up in your relationships. And if you are in denial about that, you are in some hellacious relationships. So you really got to get honest with yourself about that. But one of the cool things that happened today with my dad, here I am, 44 years old. And when we left America, I've been out of America now for 6 years. My relationship with my father really changed, and it would go back and forth. And then I went through this time where I realized, like, I love my dad. I love him so much, but I do not need his approval anymore. I do not need him. I do not need his stamp of approval on my life. Like, I am good with me. He doesn't have to like this. He doesn't have to agree with this lifestyle that I'm living. But I am happier than I ever wanted to be. And when I tried to live the lifestyle that my father encouraged me to live, make money, build a house, drive the right kind of car with a name on it, have so much money in the bank, I tried that. God, I tried that so hard. And I felt like I was doing it to get his love and to get his approval. And it felt like no matter what I did, from the 2-bedroom apartment to the 4-bedroom house to the 3-bedroom house, back to another 4-bedroom house, from the Honda Accord to the Acura Legend, like no matter what I did, I felt like, whether he meant to or not, that he was constantly saying, not quite good enough. That's a horrible place to live in. So when I decided to leave America, trust my husband with taking care of us financially, not working, boy, I am convinced, not only my father, but some of my friends were convinced that I had lost my mind. Because we come from a community that says, you better not depend on a man, you better have your own. But listen to me, I couldn't keep living my parents' dreams for my life. I tried it. I thought I was going to die. I thought, like, not even physical death, that was a spiritual death happening inside of me. Because what I've learned in this time, about that time, is that ain't who I was created to be. That is just not who I was created to be. And if who I was created to be didn't line up with who my daddy thought I was supposed to be, then guess what? The hell with it. I'm old now. Like, in my mind, I was in my 40s. I think we left. No, I was 30. I was 39 when we left America, and I remember it because the UAE, it was their 39th birthday too. So we're the same age, and I was just at the point where, like, you know what? I've done it. I've done everything I can to be the daughter I think you want me to be, and it still never feel like it's enough. But what's interesting is today my daddy admitted it. He admitted that he could not accept the lifestyle that me and Andre chose for ourselves. And he said it's because of what my daddy taught me. My daddy taught me by a certain time in life I'm supposed to have a certain amount of money, have so many things. He says, so I was teaching you that, and I thought that so he was doing the best he knew how. But that was my daddy's vision for his life and his daddy's vision for his life. That vision just didn't work for me. And so the reason I think my father and I get to have this really cool relationship now is because, one, I let him off the hook. Like, cool, you're my dad, you are who you are, you don't have to approve. You don't have to be proud of me, which now he says that he is. He's always said he was proud of me, but I couldn't always hear it. But we're good. We're good. I can say to him what I need to say to him. I don't worry about hurting his feelings, and he damn sure don't worry about hurting mine. And I don't mean that to be an ugly thing. We just adults. We are adults, and we get to have adult discussions. And the 12-year-old Kanisha has been comforted, and she is healed. And so she no longer, the 12-year-old needs a daddy, right? The 44-year-old needs a father. And what I mean by that is my daddy got some characteristics about him that I'm just like him. Like I think like him. I see the world sometime from his perspective more so than I see it from my mom's perspective. I'm my daddy's child, personality wise. I need my father. So when I'm doing some real weird stuff that I can't quite put my finger on, my daddy can be like, oh yeah. That's me. That's why you do that. And even today the conversation was I was sharing with him something about Brown. He was like, yeah, you're going to need to rein that in because that's me. So I need my father. I need the guy who can tell me, about my, as we jokingly call it, generational curse because of my daughter's behavior. He's like, oh, she just like her granddaddy on that. You got to ring her in. But isn't the beauty is instead of me staying upset with my dad and him staying so upset with me that we don't get to have a relationship because we value two different things in life. I value purpose over property. I just do. It doesn't make sense. I spent years feeling that way. I could honestly, guys, I just don't care. I don't care about how big my house is, what car I drive. I never cared. I was trying to get those things because I thought that would finally make my daddy love me and approve of me. But I personally, I didn't care. And I said to him this morning, I used to tell you, because he said, I always cared about that kind of stuff. And I said, I never did. And I said, I think when I would tell you I didn't, you thought I was saying it because you thought I couldn't afford it. But what I was trying to really get you to understand, that's just not who I am. I just don't give a damn about a Mercedes. I just don't. If I need a car, I just need a car. Like, I don't care whose name is on the car. I just don't. I don't know why. I don't know if that's important. One of the things, like I have weird things. One of the things I promised myself is there's this purse that I like, and that pocketbook is $400. Now, I've bought expensive bags before I could afford expensive bags. But this particular purse, I have promised myself when I hit a certain number in my coaching business, I'm going to get myself that bag. Not because I need the bag, not because I have to have that bag. It's just my way of rewarding my achievement. Okay. But I don't need the bag to floss. I don't need the bag to prove to other people that I can rock a $400 bag because truth is, if I want a $400 bag today, I can go get one. But what's the point? That one for me is what I've attached something to. That's the reason I'm going to get that bag. But I'm saying all this to say, ladies, resolve in your heart the difference between a daddy and a father. And if you grew up without your daddy and you're still trying to earn your daddy's approval and maybe even your mama's approval and you pass 18 years old, resolve, heal, tap into who you was created to be and be that. That is where you're going to find your joy. That is when your parents, they're going to struggle. My daddy struggled. He's struggling. But right now he knows, like whenever I talk to my dad, I'm sharing with him what I'm doing. He's like, you're about that hustle. And I'm proud of you because you're over there. I'm in a foreign country, guys, trying to create a business. Got off the phone a little while ago with a new client who's about to deposit some real money in my real account. So this thing is real. Like I'm doing it. But I'm doing it because it's what drives me. I'm not doing this. I don't have to text my daddy and be like, yo, I finally made this much money on my coaching. So now are you cool? It doesn't matter if he cool. I just want to have a cool relationship with my dad, but with my father, I don't need his approval anymore. And I certainly don't need his stamp on what my life looks like. Okay. And I say that because I want to set somebody free. I want you to get that you don't have to keep working to make your parents proud once you become an adult. Now, I'm not asking you to be a crackhead. Like, you shouldn't want to be that for yourself. Once you get a certain age, there should be certain standards that you have for yourself, right? And it's not about your parents anymore. But don't get stuck in a lifestyle. And what I mean by that is like hustling for in a job that you hate because this is what your parents expect of you. Do what you love. Create a relationship with your parents where they're father and mother and maybe no longer mommy and daddy, because you don't need, or maybe you do, but I would say heal the 12-year-old inside of you that still thinks they need a mommy and a daddy if you 21, 25, 35, and you're hustling to get your parents' approval. They love you. That's not to be questioned for most parents. Most parents love you, but our parents come from a different generation. They see things differently. They were taught things differently. And I had to say to my mom when I started this whole journey about living abroad, it's like, you chose to have one child. Because she did. She was very intentional. I wanted one daughter, period. My mother made that choice in her 20s. She chose to have one child, and she chose the life she wanted. She wanted to live in the small town she grew up in. She was very happy about that. So it's not her place to choose what my life looked like once I get a certain age. Like, that's selfish. If she gets to choose her life, then in my mind, I get to choose mine. So I say that to say to you guys, if you're in bondage to your parents' expectations of you and to your parents' belief about what they think life should be, review that and resolve it so that you can be who you was created to be. Because we have a Heavenly Father who has a purpose and a calling on your life that He is calling you to. And it may not, perhaps He didn't whisper in our parents' ears that I created this girl or I created this boy to do something way different than the plan you have for them. I have a plan for them. And when you're in His plan, when you're in your Heavenly Father's plan, this is where you're going to find the abundant joy, the abundant peace that you may be looking for. I love my dad. I do. I love my father to death. Like, he is my boy. He has been for a long time. I always thought my dad, I used to say to my dad, and I have said this to him before, you weren't always a great dad, but I always thought you was a great man. Because I just always thought my dad was cool. He's funny, and he's so smart. Like, he's really smart. So, but what I know now is I don't need my daddy to be okay with me being a life coach. And I'm not going to go back to somebody's corporate job so my daddy be cool with me. Because then he might as well go head on and pick out my burial and pick out my flowers, because then I am the walking dead. And I've been there before. I have been the walking dead, going to a job that I hated, spending every day feeling like, Lord, surely there's got to be something better in life than that. Trying to get my daddy's approval. Trying to make the right enough money where my daddy would finally go, yay, you and Andre are doing it. What my daddy said to me today was, and that's cool for him, like maybe this bless his life, and it's cool for me because I'm living it. He said, you know what, I didn't understand you and Andre. I was disappointed. In the way y'all choose to live life. He says, but Kenesha, when you get my age, my father, I believe, is 70, but I think he keeps telling me he's 67. But I ain't gonna debate with him. I know how old my daddy is. He says when you get his age, what you start realizing is that the stuff don't matter. He said he has a friend who's gonna get a divorce because the friend said, I got a big house and a beautiful sofa and a big old car. And me and my wife don't even cuddle on the sofa. Can you imagine that? So you don't work so hard to have a bunch of stuff to make everybody around you feel like you've achieved something. And you living in a house with somebody that you can't cuddle with. Let me tell you something. This apartment that you guys see, the school that my husband worked for pays for this apartment. And I'm very thankful for that. Now, we've lived in a 4-bedroom house. Beautiful. I loved my house. But I find just as much peace in this apartment that I did in that house. Once I got the house because I wanted it, not because I was trying to get my daddy's approval. And let me tell you, this sofa y'all see behind me, Me and Andre Bear have some real cool nights chilling on this sofa, cuddling on that little long part over there, laughing and talking. We have great date nights. My my children get to see their parents have this amazing friendship. Now, what they don't get to see their parents do is drive around in a Fat to Death Mercedes, um, living in a big house that we can't afford, or flossing. Like they don't, they don't get to see that. Oh well. Oh well. If they want that for their life, guess what? They got a mom and a dad who is like, yo, go do that. Do you, because we get it. Like we get that life is about you have to be the person God created you to be. So I'm okay with it, but they just not gonna get that from us. And maybe one day, like I keep telling Andre, I see beaches in our future. So my desire is to live by a place that's fairly close to the beach where I can afford that when they say there's a hurricane coming, I can buy an airline ticket to a safer land and financially be away from my home without worrying about, well, if I'm not there, I'm not working, I'm not making money. See, for me, money allows me the freedom to live the life I want. I don't want money to allow me to buy a bunch of stuff that makes me stay stuck in one place. If you're cool with that, I'm cool with that for you. I'm just saying that was never for me. It just was never for me. And me trying to get my daddy's approval had me stuck in that place. So I hope like someone see this today and this video set you free, even through my ramble. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. And I hope that you get that, like, it's your life, baby. Live your life for you. Not from an ugly, angry, you can't tell me what to do place, but when you know that you're operating in peace, all the spiritual gifts, love, joy, patience, self-control, baby, you're in it. That is where the God in you lives. Do that for you. Free yourself from your parents' expectations or from the anger you're carrying towards your mom or your dad for either being there or not being there, for whatever they may have done to you. Free yourself from that so that you can have a good relationship with whoever you choose to be in a relationship with. I had trust issues with my husband because I had trust issues with my daddy. So the stuff, it's real, guys. It's real. If you have unresolved issues with your dad, women, you're going to have issues that show up in your marriage. And if you're not honest about that and don't want to be aware of that, you're just going to keep blaming him for everything wrong when it's your stuff. So heal. Do what you need to do. Handle your daddy issues. Learn to talk to your father like an adult so you can learn to talk to your husband like an adult. Stop whining and crying to your husband because you ain't 12 and he ain't your dad. But I see that, and I was that. I used to pout. I didn't even let my kids pout once they got past the age of 3. I thought pouting was like ridiculous, and I still do. Honestly, it irritates me to see a child whine past the age of 3. But here I was, an adult, pouting because I wasn't getting my way. And I had to go inside and figure out, like, what is that about? How can I have a behavior that I don't even like to see operate in a child, and I'm operating in it, and I don't want to deal with that? Because you know why? Because the child in me was showing up. And my husband is like, yo, I thought I married an adult woman. Why are you acting like a child? Because of my daddy issues. So I'm telling you, sisters, if you're watching this, we all have daddy issues. That's just, they the first man in our life. But what I'm encouraging you to do in this 25-minute video, resolve them. And if you need help, let's go through the woman's healing journey together. I'm working on that right now, guys. I'm going to do that as a video online event. So just be patient with me. If you're interested in that, send me your emails so that as I'm working on it and I'm getting close to launching it, you make sure that you're a part of that. So I just hope this message bless somebody. I hope it helps you start moving towards healing the little girl in you that need a daddy and creating a relationship with the Father. And if you don't have your dad around anymore, you can still free him from his daddy status by doing a meditation of forgiveness. I forgive you for. I forgive you for. So forgive your dad for all the things that you put on him. You know, I forgive you for not being at every play. I forgive you for not sending me the money when I need it. I forgive you for whatever your forgive yous are. Okay? So do those and forgive him. And then learn who your father was as a man. Like, ask people, like, who was my dad? What made him happy? What made him sad? What did his parents teach him? Because my daddy was only teaching me what his dad taught him, and it didn't work for me. So just do your work. You know, y'all always hear me say that. Do the work, do the work, do the work. So again, this is Kenesha Berry with BerryThoughtfulLife.com, and I would love to hear from you. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye-bye.